All right, good afternoon and welcome to the Mavs Edge Student Intern Panel. Thank you for joining us on a Friday. I'm David Powers. I'm the Assistant Director of Internships with UTA's Career Development Center. I'm joined by Sangeeta Committee, our Data and Reporting Specialist Student Assistant. We're excited about the group of students who have agreed to participate this afternoon. We know you're going to learn a lot from them about their experiences. For those of you joining us, you're going to have an opportunity to ask questions near the end of the discussion. So if you do have questions, we encourage you to turn on your camera, unmute your mic to ask those questions. If you prefer not to be on camera, of course, you can send your questions to the Q&A feature or share it in the comments, and we'll definitely get to that and have the group address it. But before we get started with the questions, obviously we want to meet our panel. So let's get started there. Anthony, would you please begin some introductions for us?
Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Aiyedun. I am a junior mechanical engineering student at the University of Texas at Arlington. I've had the pleasure of being in multiple internships throughout my time in university. My first initial internship was with Bimbo Bakeries, the company that makes bread along with other products. I was the manufacturing system intern. My second internship after that was with Dell Technologies, where I was a hardware engineer intern. And I'm currently doing an internship while do my classes this semester with a manufacturing company in Fort Worth as a quality assurance intern. I also have an internship planned this upcoming summer with NXP Semiconductors. In terms of my extracurriculars and what I do on campus besides my internships, I'm also an officer of the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, where I'm work with the other officers to plan events and meetings and things like that. I was also a former officer of the National Society of Black Engineers, and I also help plan events and was a part of committees and things like that. Initially, outside of organizations, since I've been on the university's campus, I've been a part of one lab or the other. I've been a part of three labs. One was a computer science lab, one was a mechanical engineering lab, and currently I am in an electrical engineering lab in the nano fab lab that's near the gym, and I am currently resourcing about semiconductors and thermal heating and things like that.
Thank you, Anthony. Burcak, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to talk to us and connect with everyone today. So, I'm Burcak Cinar. I'm currently an intern at Charles Schwab. My position is called Client Service and Support Apprenticeship. And for the next summer, for this summer, I have another internship lined up at GM Financial, and that'll be a customer experience internship. I would like to talk about my experience answering the questions that you might have and all that good stuff. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And Sneh, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sneh Acharya. I am a junior at University of Texas at Arlington, and I also worked at UTA as a research assistant. And currently, I'm doing research on human interactive robotic system. And from the lab, I'm also a conference organizer as a part of the conference chair. I had a pleasure to go to Greece last year, and I've been a conference and workshop chair, and I've been organizing a conference for that. I'm also going this year. Also, last year I had a pleasure of interning at Fidelity as a software developer, and I also accepted the written offer for this summer. And I had the pleasure of also accepting an offer from Fidelity as a student band ambassador, where I be connecting students around UTA who have questions about Fidelity, how it's like working there, answering their questions, and connecting them directly to the manager or whoever in like a higher position if any question need to be answered. Other than that, I'm also a part of organization which is called NSA, which is the Nepalese Student Association. I've been an NSA since 2 years as an IT media head, where I be using technology to build connection between different people and different culture and diversity. But yeah, I'm glad to answer any question if you have any, and I'm happy to represent Fidelity in this interns panel.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to go around and have everyone kind of dive into their experiences. great group. You all have had multiple opportunities, very active in clubs and organizations. Would love to hear more about the impact there. But before we get started in learning more about your experiences, just wanted to point out that two of our three panelists intern with Mavs Edge Partners with Fidelity Investments and Charles Schwab. We're fortunate to have those folks as Mavs Edge internship partners. And I was telling Anthony a bit earlier, we're excited and hopeful, to get Dell Technologies. We've had a couple of great meetings with Dell as well. And I know that I believe GM Financial also came up. Burcak, you said you're going to have an opportunity, I think, with them in the summer. Also, a Mavs Edge internship partner. So we love to give them a shout out for providing opportunities to students and having interest in UTA students. So you can look for their opportunities in Handshake, of course, as well as Dell. Their opportunities are posted in Handshake also. But Anthony, I'd like to get back to you and let you get us started in diving a bit deeper into your experiences and what you had an opportunity to see and do, in some of those roles you've had, please.
Okay, I guess since I have a lot of experiences, I guess I'll just go in chronological order. My first internship, as I stated, was with Bimbo Bakeries, and summarize it a bit, what my goal as a manufacturing systems intern was to recreate a already pre-existing machine in a digital space. So there's this software called SolidWorks. It's basically a modeling software where you can create devices and other pieces of machinery. So my manager, the person who I was working under, said, okay, we have this machine. Could you please create a model of it in the software that you have? And once you finish like detailing and creating that model, can you please run simulations on it? Because basically with every single internship I've had, they in the beginning they tell you a problem. They tell you something they wanted to fix, something they want your input on, and throughout that summer, it's up to you and the other interns you're working with, if you're actually working with someone else, to address that problem. So for them, their issue was, in terms of doing maintenance, they don't do it like individually per machine. They just do it every six months. And because they do it like that, it's kind of a waste of time, money, and resources, because instead of doing it specialized, you're like waiting until every 6 months. So even if a machine was not optimal 2 months in, you have to wait under that 6 months mark. And when the machine isn't optional, it makes less money and but doesn't produce as what it was designed to. So they came to me and said, could you make a model? And once you make that model, could you run simulations on it? And once you run those simulations, you'll be able to pinpoint the exact optimal time to run maintenance on it for someone to go in and fix it instead of waiting for the 6 months mark.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through that process, going back and forth with my manager, giving weekly updates, things like that. And at the end, once my manager approved my project and it was finalized, at the end, there was a presentation. I made a PowerPoint, and it was me explaining what I've done throughout that whole summer to like the higher ups at Bimbo Bakeries, like the vice presidents and other managers, just to explain like, oh, what I did that summer. And you talking to the financial people at Bimbo Bakeries, like before I did my final presentation, we were able to make a PowerPoint price of how much money it would save if they ended up implementing what I created to every single machine in that factory, which was a significant amount, which shows that there is financial incentive to go with this idea and continue to further develop it and implement it after my internship ended. Okay, and that was my first experience. That was my first internship, and I loved it. It gave me the framework of how internships go. I got to meet some wonderful people, and I learned a lot. Not only just increasing my computer designing skills, but also how to give weekly updates, how to keep on track, and how to continue work on a project and continue develop it and communicate it till the end, which I enjoyed a lot. One of the things about the Bimbo Bakeries internship is that I was also working alongside a computer science student, and that itself, like I was mechanical, he was computer science. We had one of the barriers was like explaining what we were doing and getting on the same level, but throughout the internship, we were able to overcome that, which I thought was great, and which shows that not everybody you're gonna be working with is gonna have your background. So once you get in the actual workforce, you're gonna have to be able to say what you're working on in layman terms and be able to communicate your ideas, which I enjoyed. My second internship experience was, of course, with Dell Technologies as a hardware engineering intern. And I think Dell was my favorite internship, but one of the things that was really different from the Bimbo Bakeries internship, because Bimbo Bakeries, we had like the beginning and the end was predefined. Like my manager knew what he expected from me since the beginning of the internship. But with Dell, it was really broad and open-ended. Just to quickly summarize what I did throughout that summer, basically they wanted us to take an already existing product and improve upon it and build it for different situations. But they gave us a list of requirements that we had to do, but it didn't tell us like it had to be this or this is what we expected. This is what we expect from you. No, they were like, we had full-time engineers working on this, and they've been working on this for years, and we brought in a bunch of new interns just so you guys can like look at it and have a best pair of eyes and maybe come up with ideas that we haven't thought of before or give a different spin on the product. But like my head manager said they had no idea how far we were going to get through the internship, what they expected, like how the end result would look. They were like, we have no idea how far you're going to get. That's up to you guys and how much you work and how much you collaborate. And I was really happy with that internship because we managed to exceed the expectations. They only thought we would get to like the modeling stage, but we got all the way to the prototyping stage and being able to like physically hold the design and like show it to people, which I liked a lot. Similar to my Bimbo Bakeries internship, we had a final presentation where we presented to the higher ups at Dell and all the higher managers and explained what we were doing in kind of layman terms, because of course the managers some of them aren't engineers, so they don't understand like the final details. So we had to not necessarily dumb it down, but explain it in a way where they're able to take the knowledge without having any background on it. And my third internship that I'm currently involved in is a quality assurance internship. This one is more, instead of like long-term, more day-to-day. Basically, as a quality assurance intern, it's my job to make sure that the parts we design, like 3D print that we see CNC that we create in the factory are actually up to code, because every single part has a different tolerance. So like a certain piece can only be like plus or minus 5 inches longer than the required length or minus. And it's my job to sign and say, yes, this is approved, or no, this is outside the boundaries of the tolerance. This cannot work. This is like a danger, like this needs to go back and redone, which I like a lot because every day it's like a new challenge and a new thing to overcome, which is unlike my other two internships where I had one project and I was attacking it every single day. So yeah, those are my 3 internship experiences.
Yeah, and it sounds like all of those were, I mean, super relevant. You made really
Yes.
really nice pieces on your resume. Fantastic work experience, and I have tons of thoughts and questions, but I'm going to try to hold those to the questions section. And Burcak, would you like to go next, please, and describe your experience?
Yeah, for sure. So again, as I mentioned, I'm currently an intern at Charles Schwab for the client service and support department. And pretty high level, what I do on a daily basis is to take inbound client calls to better educate them with their financial decisions, investment portfolio, and questions that they might have with their accounts. So I'm mostly on the phones all day, helping clients, building de-escalation skills, emotional intelligence skills, and all that stuff. It's challenging, not gonna lie, but it's rewarding at the same time because I get to learn a lot from clients from different backgrounds and how to better cater to their needs, so to speak. And another thing that I was really impressed about was because this was my first like corporate internship experience and I didn't really know what to expect. And I was so nervous on my first day. I was ready to throw up. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. That's all I'm gonna say. But in the end, I realized that, and I believe this applies to many different fields, not just customer or client service. And I'm sure that other interns that are on the panel would attest to that. But in the end, we're interns and they know that we don't know what we need to know. So they really train us, they educate us. There is no such thing as a dummy question or anything. So when in doubt, always ask questions. And the other thing was when it comes to my experience that I thought that they're paying me to work. So they need some type of end product from me. But I realized that, especially when it comes to these internship programs, it's all about building you as a student and making you ready for a full-time opportunity. And we have so many roundtables with different departments at Charles Schwab. And the location that I work at is the headquarters of Charles Schwab. So we essentially have every department under sun and find locations. So we get to shadow them. We get to attend to their roundtables where they talk about different departments and different career opportunities. And at first, I was extremely impressed because I'm like, oh, I'm getting paid to learn from these people, and I'm not producing anything. I'm not providing any service, but
Right.
instead they're investing in me and I'm getting my hourly pay. So that's something that's super cool about being an intern. And I couldn't be happier to be in this internship. I learned a lot. I networked with a lot of people. And I
Mm.
say that as someone who's a little introverted, who's a little shy, especially in public, especially in a professional environment like Charles Schwab. But if I could do it, I'm positive that anyone could do it. So,
Well,
yeah.
well, I'm happy to hear they didn't put a lot of pressure on you because it sounds like you were putting a little bit of pressure on yourself, right? I appreciate you sharing the fact that you had that level of nervousness to start your position because that I think that's something literally everyone can relate to that. When you start a new role, regardless of whether it's an internship or your first full-time position, you know, a lot of times you'll have those kinds of nerves. I've been in similar kinds of spots. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And I don't think, you know, I don't think students realize that. It sometimes surprises them how nervous they are on that first day, you know, going in, right? So,
Yeah, and
but
I would just to add to that real
sure,
quick, I was thinking, so since I was something that I was a little insecure about myself, I didn't share it with lots of people, especially
right,
on the initial days. But after
right,
I talked to some other people, I realized that there were many people who were in a similar position as mine.
yeah,
And that's why I wanted to share because this was something that I
thank
was
you.
insecure about. But now I came to a position where I can attend an internship panel and talk about it just to educate people more. It's okay if you're
Abs-
nervous, but
Yes.
go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That, like I said, that's why I really appreciate you sharing that because a lot of folks can relate. Sneh, would you please take us through your experience?
Yes. So I had a great opportunity to intern for Fidelity, and I did it last summer, and it was a really good experience. I did it on the Westlake location, and first of all, the location is really good. It's near the South Lake, so it's
I've
a
heard
really
it.
good place.
Yeah.
And the working environment, first of all, like for me, it was a hybrid situation, but working in the office was my most like preferred because the work environment was really good. Meeting new people, making connections was a really fun place, like fun thing to do over there. And I was initially hired as a software developer, and I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. But later, I had a talk with my manager, and they had a they were working on a component. They wanted to use the same component for multiple devices like web, phone, and even for laptops. So they wanted to use the same kind of kind of component for everything. So they wanted to make it hybrid for all different devices. So I was work. They were analyzing the data from all the users saying what they use, what like the user be using every single time. Just like if is user using like the trading ticket more, or are they using the finance button more and stuff. So we were told to make a component using all the stuff that user need for quick access, and we made this component and using that. So I was working mostly focused on mobile development, also like full stack role within, and my team that I worked on was active trader platform. That's what they call themselves. And it was more like a multi-phase involving front-end development. And I was using Angular, CSS. If somebody is like software developer here, they will know that. And the main goal was to optimize trading algorithms. So basically, I don't know if people do stocks, this word is really familiar to them. So on stocks, you can do option trading. And for example, if Tesla is in 247 right now, and you can buy a contract saying, all right, I think Tesla is going to go up to like 255. And then the closer it gets to getting 255, you will get more money. But sometimes you might get busy in life. For example, if I do option trading right now, I might have to go to class in the next 15 minutes, but I'm not going to be able to look in that. So we added a new feature called conditional trading, where you can do a condition simple, like if Tesla reaches this, sell my contract automatically. So we added that function for the user so that it's efficient for them, so they're not losing much money. And that's the function that Fidelity wanted to provide. And I was also actively participating in Agile contribution. We had Scrum meetings, and my team was from different countries. So 5 people were from India and other people were from China. So the whole diversity, and I had to wake up like 7 a.m. sometimes to be in the meeting just to match the time. But Fidelity was so generous that they were like, since you're doing meeting early in the morning, I can clock out at 3 in the afternoon because I was doing it early. So the work experience was really good, like getting to know more people from different country. Or like the fact about working on the same project while people are in different country is still like really fascinated about that. Like technology has came so far, and I had a great opportunity working at Fidelity, getting to know about the company, and they offered me a written offer again. So I'm going to be joining, but this time I'm gonna go on the same team, but I'm gonna be mostly focused on full stack. So I'm gonna be working on back end and front end on this time. And other than that, the experience that this has allowed me to like improve my platform, like myself, knowing whatever I like learned from my research that I mentioned earlier that I worked on the lab, and learn in the class to actually go in the real life world and doing something that actually I forgot to mention that the trading ticket that I mentioned is already in production. It was on production last month. So getting to see user actually use it and getting a good feedback from it was a really good experience. And I'm happy that I got to do an intern in Fidelity, and I'm happy I also got a written offer. And I'm also happy that I get to come here and tell other people how my experience was. And if you have any question, you can always reach out to me, since I'm also a student brand ambassador, which I'll mention later. But it's been a great opportunity, and I'm looking forward for this summer again working for Fidelity.
Yeah, thank you. I was about to say, as a student brand ambassador for Fidelity, I'm sure they'd be happy to know that you're here too, right? Kind of spreading the good news. You're doing your job today. So I also, I mean, very, very accomplished, like I said, very accomplished panel. Fantastic to have them here. I want to draw your attention to the comments section. Our panelists have been kind enough to provide their contact information. It's always, great to expand your network however you can. So LinkedIn information is there for you to connect with our panelists, and we encourage you to do so. I mean, they've all been kind enough to give us some time on a Friday to answer questions and tell us about their experience. So we really appreciate that. As we get into questions, just a heads up again that students, we encourage you to unmute the camera, turn on the camera and unmute the mic. If you'd like to ask a question live, you're going to be welcome to do that. We'd love to see you and give you the opportunity to ask the question. If you prefer to send it to chat or Q&A for us to address it that way, we're happy to do that as well. But Sangeeta, I'd like to give you the first opportunity to ask. I know you're searching for internships now, and so I know you'd be excited to ask the first question, please.
Yeah. Anthony, can please tell us about what skill set have you developed from your internship experience?
Still got you on
Please
mute.
unmute yourself.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I believe I have developed a lot of skill sets, even like some subcon like unconsciously without my knowledge. Like I think the main ones are obviously like computer aided design modeling for Bimbo and Dell. For Bimbo I used SolidWorks, which is one engineering CAD software that mechanical engineers use. And for Dell, I used software called Creo, which is also another one. So having those two experiences with like different types of software that do the same thing, because like there's a lot of different software. There's like AutoCAD, there's assembly, there's a lot of different things for modeling. And the fact that you have those experiences with another software was great. In addition, I learned a lot of soft skills, like like things people don't even think about, like how to send a professional email to your manager, like how to follow up, how to request, how to talk to different people, how to make teams meetings. Because one of the things they encourage, especially at Dell, is that to do your own networking. Like if you see someone doing something cool that you're interested in, don't be shy to hit them up on Outlook and ask them if they have time. Look at their schedule, see if they have time for like a 30-minute coffee meeting or Teams meeting, and just dissect their brain and just to take what you learn from those people and just apply it to your outlook on life and what you want to do in the future and things like that. In addition, keeping track of like assignments and projects, because like in school we have deadlines, you have Sunday night to do this homework, but especially with Dell, it was all up to you to keep track of your work. Like, yes, you had meetings with your mentor, but it wasn't like they were hovering above you. You had to keep track of like, oh, I need to do this. I need to talk to this person. I need to get an update from that person. I need to do this, and this. So, like, some people have physical calendars, some people have apps and things like that. But just a way to keep track of what you're doing and how you're engaging with other people at the company is definitely a necessary skill that everybody hopefully picks up from an internship or picks up like once you start in full time and once you get that experience. It's something definitely needed. Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. I like
Thank
that question a lot. Let's give everybody an opportunity to talk about any specific skill set they think they may have taken. Sneh, would you like to address that, please?
Yes. So the question was, what skills did I develop during the internship, right?
Yes.
The skills, like Anthony mentioned, it's like on school there are deadlines, but when you go into real life companies, they will want to see what you can do. Like especially as an intern, your main goal is gonna be how you're gonna make sure that you make them believe that you stand out compared to other people, because you're basically competing, because you might have be doing intern for 500 people, but once they do a return, they might only do 100 returns. So you would want to stand out and make them believe that you know what you're doing. So the skills that I feel like I developed from Fidelity is that I was a lot introvert before. I was all I was mostly like as a CS student, I was mostly focused on projects because I wanted to do good on my resume. So I was just sitting in my room, just trying to like code, make good project. But later I realized that you have to be social, make connections. Just doing project is not gonna be enough. So and like referring to that, I joined Hack UTA as a tech, and I'm also a tech director at Hack UTA, and I get to talk to a lot of companies, and that's when I started making connections. And so during Fidelity, what I learned is that you have to make connections, just make also like get to know other people what they know, because technology is always advancing. So you would not want to stick to one thing because you're gonna fall behind. So always look around what there is. Like right now, if somebody mentions Chat GPT, you should know about it because it's the real hype. So don't fall behind, especially on technology. Just keep up to it, and just like just explore what is around, and also like don't hesitate to ask questions. I see a lot of people like they hesitate to ask questions. They feel like, oh, what are they gonna say if I do this? If I do this, don't hesitate to do that. Just ask a question if you have any concerns. or if you have any comments about if you don't understand what you're supposed to be doing, just do a one-to-one with your manager, ask questions instead of doing something wrong. You'd rather invest a little more time and do it right. And just like Anthony mentioned, like nobody taught us how to write emails. We just write it, but a lot of things matters, like a subject, what need to be included, how do you write your footer, how do you greet the people. So that using Outlook, like Outlook, people think it's just basically for like emails, but there's a lot to it, especially like scheduling meeting, checking other people's schedule to see if they are free on the time you want to schedule a meeting. That, and also there's also option on Outlook where you can be like, if you're out of office for lunch, you can be like away for this hour, this hour. So like just a little bit of detail that you can add on that's gonna make you look professional. So just for me, what I learned from Fidelity is always like, take your time, just do it perfect, just make it detailed, just like take your time, make sure like, and another thing is you might write a code, just try to document it, write comments on the code, because you as an intern, you are leaving the code for someone future to come and work for it. So you don't know what you had planned for the upcoming people to know. So just like document your work, write comments on the code so that whenever people want to go look at the code, they will easily can read the comments and know what you are planning on writing about it in the future. So more is like just a little things that add a lot of value. So just be professional, learn how to write like good emails, make connections, don't hesitate to just be forward, like don't fall behind, and just keep up with the technology.
Thank you. Burcak, I know you mentioned a couple specific skills when you were talking about your experience, but other things you'd like to highlight that you picked up?
Oh yeah, I think the biggest skill that I learned from my internship was to learn how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I feel like that applies to many different internships, because as interns, we don't always know what we're supposed to do, and that's okay, and that's expected. But the key is to be comfortable asking questions, to clarify, and to be on the same page. So, and also on the other side of the token is, if I'm always comfortable, it means that I'm not progressing, right? So it's a good key sign if I'm uncomfortable doing what I'm doing, because it means that I'm growing. And the second thing is, I would say networking. It's huge. It goes a long way. All the people that I talked to at Charles Schwab, they mentioned that one of the biggest keys in them becoming managers and getting to what they really wanted to go was to network with the right people and to make yourself visible, essentially. Because okay, I can do my work and I can be the best at it, but if people are not aware, if the manager, if the director is not aware, then it doesn't really mean anything, because when they want to promote someone, they're supposed to know who the person is really visible, and who to promote, essentially. So those were the key things that I learned. I know that it's easier said than done, but it's all about coming up with strategies to really how to grow and to how to make yourself visible and how to make others aware that you're growing. So yeah.
Yeah, and some common themes. It's interesting. It's always interesting to hear what kind of common themes pop up, right? Regardless of the position. Networking has popped up, with everybody, the importance of networking, and we harp on that and talk about it all of the time. Asking questions, again, you're not being afraid to ask questions and kind of be assertive, to speak up. Sneh, as you were saying, being a little bit introverted, speaking up and getting to know other folks, and very interesting to me, because I spend all day writing emails that, email etiquette, and that sort of thing might have been surprising, and there was more focus on that than there might have been typically. It's been a while since I've been a student. So, hammering out those emails, I know what it looks like when I text, right? So you don't want your emails to look like your text messages. And that's a very good point, and something I would not have thought probably to share with students. And you also mentioned a couple of tools that I think students should make sure that they're using. ChatGPT is a tool. Use the AI tools that are out there. There's more popping up every day. Use Grammarly. Run those emails through those tools to make sure you are sounding professional when you're communicating internally. Also, you want to be careful who's receiving those emails. I've heard horror stories about people hitting the reply all button and sending things to folks they wish they hadn't sent things to, right? So that's something else to kind of think about. Want to open it up. Sangeeta, please continue to kind of scan the questions. I do want to open it up to students. If any students have questions, if they would like to either use the feature to raise your hand or unmute yourself and your camera, we would love to hear. We would love to hear from you as well. And we'll give it just a second here to see if we have any students who start to make a move toward doing that. Okay, we do have a question from Connor. And Connor, you're welcome, like I said, if you'd like to turn on the camera and also the mic, but please ask your question.
Hi, I'm Connor Ellis. I'm just curious, when you're looking like through at different internships to apply for, like, how do you build your resume in a way that is appealing, if that makes sense? Like, what things do you look for to put into it to increase your odds? I guess is what I'm asking.
I can answer that question.
Sure.
Okay, for me, the bare minimum, I'm sure all of us have heard this in some way, but your resume should reflect some of the aspects of the job application and all the information. Like there was like, oh, this is what like the bare minimum qualifications, and then there's the recommended. And I feel like in this job market, the recommended is the bare minimum. Like if you don't have the recommended, then you may not be a competitive like applicant. So I think you just scan the job application, see this is like what's recommended you have, and if you see a name of a software, like if it says SolidWorks, SolidWorks is going to be in my resume. If it says know how to use Microsoft Office is going to be there. If it says any name of the software, any name of something like that, just make sure you fit it. And you could even like when you're describing the experience of your former internships, you can say like, oh, I use that software. Let me, instead of just putting that in the skills section, and say, oh, in this I applied this and I got this outcome, and put some numbers there, make it seem formal and professional and things like that. But I also wouldn't do what some people do, where they just like highlight the whole job application and just like copy and paste it and make it like white text. Like, nah, that's like that kind of a shortcut, and like that looks bad, especially like nowadays. Some people, hiring managers, they look at that stuff. So just formulate it in a way that some could easily look at your resume and say, oh yeah, this person definitely looked at the job application. It's all Dell and it's all related to his formal internship experiences or projects or classes or whatever experience you have on your resume.
I want to add on Anthony's response. I also wanted to mention that tailor your resume according to the application you're applying. Like I might apply for software developer, but there is different aspect to it. So you might be mobile development, but you can't be mentioning that you've been doing a lot of web if you have been doing it, because it doesn't really fall together. So if you're applying for full stack, make your resume appealing for full stack. Add like languages like Angular, Node, HTML, CSS, and whenever you put the projects, put like web related projects. But if you're applying for mobile, just you can't put like you've been doing a lot of web, because it doesn't really show you that you have experience on mobile before. So just make it look good like that. And also a lot of people that I see, that even my friends, they think like the project that they do in school are not good enough for your resume, but they also complain that their resume is empty. What I tell them is document the work, put it on GitHub, put a README, like make it look good, and explain really good on what you did on the resume instead of leaving it empty. You might have done projects like on computer science, you do projects on every classes. So pick the one you did the base, and pick the one that you really believe that you put a lot of work into and that you know what you're doing, because you don't want to put stuff on your resume that you really don't feel comfortable about talking, because they are going to be asking you a question about that. So basically, put something that you have done. Don't put something you haven't done. Don't try to keep it like that. They will know, but just by the first question they will ask you. So put something you have done in the class that you are really comfortable in it, and just don't hesitate to show the work you have done, because every little thing matters. It like the project might not be good, but the teamwork that you did on that project can be a huge aspect that the recruiter might think it's really good. So don't hesitate to show your work and tailor your resume according to the job application you're applying for. I think that's the key.
And to add to that, I feel like those were some amazing advice. So, but what I do is after I complete similar steps that Anthony Van Sneh has mentioned earlier, what I do is I find a friend, someone that I trust, and I say, hey, could you read the job description first? Then I hand my resume to them and I say, if you were the hiring manager, would you hire me? And I get some great feedback just by doing that. And I know that David and his team are doing a great job helping students. And I feel like the Career Center is a good resource to ask this question before you submit that application.
Yeah, great points. And again, I love hearing the common theme of, your resume needs to match the position description as closely as possible, right? Great advice in terms of context, because I don't think a lot of students, when they're putting their first resume together, especially, they're just putting together a general document. They haven't directed it to anything, so you can only evaluate the strength of the resume if you have context and something to apply it to. So the idea of giving them a position description to read first, to give them that context. Okay, as a hiring manager, that's an excellent suggestion. As a hiring manager, what am I looking for? And then if I get this random resume that was written for another position that was somewhat similar, you're going to see right away that it's not a great fit. It's not a great fit. So really good advice regarding resumes. And if you haven't put a resume together, I recommend doing it soon, doing it early, to see what your gaps are in that resume. I know someone mentioned having some blank spots. Sneh, I think you mentioned they put the resume together and there's some gaps and there's some blank spots. Well, that gives you a roadmap of things that you could be doing now, right? And clubs you could be joining, experience you could be gaining, projects you could be working on to fill out that resume to make yourself a stronger candidate. The earlier you do that, the better. I want to continue to keep it open for students who have questions. So
I have a question related
yeah,
to
go ahead,
this.
Sakina. Yeah.
Is there any impact on the selection if your resume looks like overqualified, means for the internship position? If there is an internship position and person who have 2 or 3 and more experience and overqualification mentioned in their resume, so is there chances of selection or rejection, or what kind of result he will get?
I can respond to that.
Sure.
Funny you mentioned about that. I've actually been told I was applying for like engineering jobs just for this like semester that I could take 20 classes, things that like not advanced, but like something I could do that's also related to engineering. And I got an email about an offer about like what kind of factory. I went to like 3 or 4 on-site interviews with them, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, you kind of like like overqualified." And I was like, honestly, I didn't really. I thought that was kind of annoying. It's like I don't see how that makes sense, because like I was definitely qualified. Like I definitely understood like what I'd be doing. So for that, about being overqualified, I think there is a chance, but I think there was a greater chance that you leave out an experience that could have really helped you. Because one thing you need to understand about hiring managers, you have no idea what they're gonna like about your resume. Absolutely no idea. Like it's like a small project you were thinking about, like, I put like this is just a passion project. I put it in there. Next thing you know, half the interviews is them talking about it, and them relating it to something they did when they were a kid or when they were in school or something. It's like, wow, like, and then I thought they'd talk about like my internship experiences, and now they're talking about a project I did freshman year. So you never know. So I would only leave stuff out if it's like more than 1 page and like you absolutely can't fit it. But if you can fit an experience of like an internship project club, even though there's a risk it could be overqualified, I think it greatly doesn't. I think putting as much relevant experience as you can greatly outweighs that. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
and you usually run into overqualification when you're looking for full-time jobs.
Mm.
Not so much in internships, because those employers are looking for someone that they can then bring on as a full-time hire later. Whereas when you're looking at full-time jobs, some of those search committees might be thinking about how long are they going to stay, why are they interested in this position, and they start to maybe question motivations. I don't think you see that as much with internships. I would think most employers are trying to find, as Anthony was saying, as strong a candidate as they can to bring on as a full-time staff member. I want to continue to kind of keep it open and keep encouraging students to either use the raise your hand feature or unmute yourself and ask a question. I definitely want you to have an opportunity to address the group, but I do want to throw out the question that we almost always hear is just about your search in general, what your search was like, any frustrations you may have had in your search, what you thought maybe were some of the more successful things you did in searching for your internships. I'm getting tons of questions from students now, especially in the computer science field, especially from international students who are frustrated about a lot of applications and not a lot of response. So from you folks who've been very successful in finding multiple opportunities, what are some things you feel like you can do in the search process that are really useful or beneficial or that helped you? Anyone like to start addressing that?
I can
Sneh?
start.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So the first thing I will say, and this is super important, is don't give up and don't be discouraged. Apply to as many jobs as possible. So to get to this internship position, I've been applying for internships, especially on Handshake last semester, like every day, every single day. And my motto was the last fall semester was to scroll through Handshake instead of scrolling on TikTok. That was my motto. So I don't know. I've got like over 100, maybe 200 rejections. It was my daily routine to get rejection emails every single day. I just, open Outlook and I see those rejection emails. Like first couple weeks, I would say that it was extremely discouraging. I thought that I would just graduate and be jobless. I would starve on the streets. I'm not kidding. But after some time, I realized that, and it's funny enough, it's like Murphy rules. I'm not sure if you ever heard of that, but it happens when you're the most desperate. It happens when you're on the verge of giving up. I got like so many job interview offers, and I came to a point where I was interviewing for more than 6, 7 companies in a week. So that happened. And please don't give up. Please apply. Please don't be discouraged by rejection emails, and keep a positive attitude, because that goes a long way. And reach out to recruiters. That's what I do. I literally, like, after I apply for a job, especially if it's a job that I'm super duper interested in, I just find a recruiter on LinkedIn and I ask them to follow up. Sometimes they don't reply, not gonna lie. Sometimes they'll just ghost, but that's part of it. Like, be ready to be ghosted. Be ready to get like an extreme amount of help. It's all part of it, and it's okay. And don't be discouraged. That's all I'm gonna say, because I'm sure that, like, we're here, the three of us, like, talking and judging about how to find an internship, but I'm sure that at some point we were all very like desperate to get a job, and we were on the verge of giving up, but we didn't, and that's why we're here.
Thank you, Sneh. I know you had unmuted. Would you like to talk about what was impactful for your search?
For me, all right. So since you mentioned about that, like making network, I started applying for internship using LinkedIn. And at that time, I wanted to apply for a lot of jobs as I can. So I went to easy apply feature that LinkedIn offers. And all I used to do was just apply for a resume, apply. But then realized that I've been applying to so many companies, but I haven't heard back from any. So I was like, I feel like applying shouldn't be this simple. So once I started digging in, I was like, because at that time I used to be tired of writing cover letters and making my resume good for every company. But I realized I'm like, if I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna have to put some effort to it. So then I started I made my Handshake account, which is a great tool, by the way. So everybody should in the chat should use that. So I started using Handshake, and that's when I got stumbled upon really good companies. And what I like about handshake research is that it tells you the requirements. For example, if Fidelity requires you to be a junior and handshake have the data of you, and if they know you a sophomore, it will mark you as like an X on that. But if you are, it will mark you like a right. So I could filter like what company fits in my description and what I want. So I started applying to there. And whenever I stumble upon Fidelity, that I stumble on a handshake and it just said apply externally. I went there. And another thing is people be frustrated to write cover letters like I was, but I think it's a great tool. It can be really simple. Just take your time, make it once. Later you can change it up just a little bit, or you can write a cover letter that will fit like most of the position you're gonna take. And like I mentioned, there are some tools that you can use nowadays to like make it quick. So don't hesitate to do that. And I also think like while applying, most of people have dream companies. Everybody have dream companies, but don't just stick around to that companies. Try to get away for it. Everybody want to aim for Apple, Meta, but like it's really challenging, especially if you're trying to like. It's not just you. There's multiple people who are trying to go for. So look after your dream job. It's work for it, but also look for. It's like a stairs. Like just make a path. Start on the bottom. You're gonna get up eventually. So it's just like don't apply for like don't aim for too high in companies just at the very beginning and just be like, oh, they rejected me and stop. Just like apply for a lot of company that is around. Sometimes when the very first time when I worked in a company, they didn't really pay me. It was like a free intern, but I wanted to do it because I wanted to put it in my resume. So it's the word intern that matters on your resume, and the experience is what you gain from it. So just explore and see what they have offered on, and just make your resume good for that. And also write, don't hesitate to write cover letters. It's really simple. It's how you make it feel like it, but don't hesitate to write cover letters and reach out to recruiters. And another thing, if you have connection, if you have friend or alumni from UTA in place, try to get a referral. It really helps. Like you can go to LinkedIn and search up their names or a company, and it will say 26 people alumni works in this place. If you go on UTA, try to make connection to them. Be like, hey, I'm trying to apply for internship on this company. Is there a way you can give me a referral? Make connections, like get network with them, and also try to get a referral. It really helps connect with a recruiter because you really want to stand out. There's 500 applications, but if you like text them on LinkedIn or something, they might see your application and be like, oh yeah, this guy actually texted me on LinkedIn. So I think he's like really wants to get internship. So just do something that is gonna make your name remember in their head, basically.
Thank you, Anthony. Any search tips?
Yeah, what you said were wonderful and spot on. What I want to add on that is I think a good helpful to get jobs and to help with that process is career fairs, because I think they help a lot, especially face to face, being able to talk to them. Like you both mentioned, um reaching out to recruiters, and most of the time at career fairs, there's recruiters there. So you could talk to them, really show them the face behind the resume, and show them how you see yourself at the company, at a specific job. And of course, you can network there too. And of course, UTA has career fairs. I know the National Society of Black Engineers has job fairs every semester. American Society of Mechanical Engineers, there's job fairs too. And even outside of getting a job, there's networking at events like that, just expanding your network. So yeah, those opportunities definitely help. And I think what helps a lot too is applying for to a lot of jobs, but also like tailoring it to your resume, like we discussed beforehand. Because I talked to a lot of friends who were like, oh, I applied to like 200 jobs in one day. In one day, I was like, realistically, out of those 200 jobs, do you really see yourself looking at all of them? Like you have 200. I'm not saying you shouldn't do like 200, but I'm saying like you split it between take your time, maybe try to find recruiters, trying to find recruits on LinkedIn for each of those jobs. Because if you just like same resume, same everything for job, it's like a shotgun approach, but it should be more specified, specific. Like, hey, I know what I want for my future, and these jobs, these are like the top tier companies, the medium deal and the deal, the locations, where I want to see myself in a couple of years, instead of just like blind do a job to like Alaska or something. I mean, like I just need a job like anywhere, any job,
Right.
which is the best.
Yeah, that's interesting. The term that I've heard used for mass applications like that is spray and pray. You know, you're just kind of throwing it out there. It is a numbers game on some level, but as you've all mentioned, you need to tailor that resume. You need to take time to make those adjustments based on the position description. Again, I just want to. We've only got about 5 minutes left, but I do want to encourage students, if you have any questions, to raise your hand. We'll have you turn on the camera or the mic and ask. Sangeeta, I would also like to ask you if you have any other questions that have popped to mind. I have one, if we need one. Curious about.
Yeah, one last question. What's the best piece of advice you want to give to the students, UTA students?
Never give up. Always keep trying. Never take defeat. It may be tough, like the job market in some industries is the worst it's ever been, but that doesn't mean you should give up. Don't use that. Don't be a negative Nancy. Always have faith in yourself, have faith in your skills, do projects, get certifications, do unpaid internships if that's thing. There's a lot of different types of there's a lot of different ways to get experience, and do projects, talk to professors, see if they could give advice on how to like fix your resume and things like that. Just number one, do not give up.
Yeah, thank you.
From my side, I would say, like, also adding on Anthony, he said never give up. Some people would be like, since I'm a freshman, I think it's really going to be hard for me to get internship. Like, instead of thinking like that, just start your search early and just apply. Just look for companies. Like, during that time, instead of saying that, look for a company who actually does do that. There are companies that will take you as an intern. They might not pay you, but it's still an intern. You're going to get experience from real life. Don't be also focused on paid internship. I know everybody wants money, but it's internship. You're trying to get connection, make a network and stuff. So don't hesitate and don't limit yourself to just your dream companies. Just like look outside of your dream companies. Like, it's gonna be hard to get in, trust me, on this market, but don't limit yourself just in your dream company. And if you are trying to go for software development or computer science, you're a computer science is a major, practice your interview skills, because a lot of computer science students are introvert. Like, talking from experience and me about my friends, because they be behind the computer the whole day. It's just practice the interview skills, especially the coding interviews. So we call it leak code. Whenever you have free time, try to do leak code. Leak code are like an interview questions it's like a website that is formed of multiple questions that a lot of companies tend to pull from, and they ask you. And normally on how coding interview works is basically you be face to face just like this, and they will give you a prompt and they will tell you to write a solution for that, writing coding. And a lot of those questions are from leak code, and there's like easy, medium, hard. If you're a freshman, just start with easy, just like, and if you want to learn new languages and explore new coding languages, you can use that. But practice your coding interviews, and if you're in technical field. And earlier I mentioned about when I talked about resume, don't be afraid to showcase your projects, and don't forget to also like tell them what you're also passionate about, because that's what happened to me. I did mobile, but I was also passionate about full stack. So just mention them what you're passionate about, because big companies always have opening positions, and that doesn't mean that you always have to stick to the same position forever. You can always advance or like change into different positions. I have seen people change into business unit from coding because they were interested on that. So just don't limit yourself to a single place. Try to explore, see what you really want, see what you're passionate about. And one thing is, think this between your head, that and before choosing what you want to do, be like, is this what I want to do forever? Like, can I be happy doing this for 5 more years or 6 more years? Because just because you got a job doesn't mean you have to like accept the offer right away. Just think that, is this really what I want, or is this really what I'm passionate about? And try to filter the position accordingly, and just never give up. Apply all the knowledge you got in your classes. There's all the career centers and stuff to help you navigate through that and guide you. Just start your search early and just apply. And that's just my advice for everyone who's here.
Thank you. Burcak, any overarching best advice tips as we wrap up?
Yeah, I guess my final remarks are talk to people, don't be afraid, ask questions, and especially talking to people part. Sometimes it turns out to be a free therapy session. Sometimes it's the first step into getting your dream job. You never know. So it doesn't hurt to give it a try, and it's always nice and fun to learn about different people and different experiences, different backgrounds, and you'll never know what it can turn into in the future. So especially if you're an introvert like me, it's hard at first. I understand and I can definitely relate to it, but do your best and just take small steps at first. It doesn't have to be like you don't have to be the most social person in the room at first, but just, do something that makes a small but steady progress every day.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. Sangeeta, if you would you like to close this, please?
Yeah, thank you for attending today's student intern panel, and a special thank you to our panelists for sharing their time and experience. Please remember to check out the links and information in our comment section. And best of luck with semester. And once again, thank you to all our panelists.
Thank you all. Congratulations too. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.